Welcome to Radio 64. Welcome to Radio 64, Video Game Music Remix Radio. I'm your host, Eric Mickles, also known online as duskvstweak. Radio 64 is part of the Radio Meanwhile network. Visit radiomeanwhile.com for more information about this and other great podcasts. Find past episodes of Radio 64 on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube. And thank you to WRAQ 92.7 FM in Angelica, New York for hosting us every Monday at 6 p.m. The track that we open the show with is called The Ballad of Bowser's Balls by Chimpazilla, obviously from the original Super Mario game. You know, that's a theme that if you don't recognize it, it's almost, well, why are you listening to this show? Again, for me, I find the original Mario theme, the original overworld background music, to be just a really hard song to remix and to do a lot with because it's just so iconic and it was so short and it would be on loop that it sometimes feels like, what can you do with it? And then people go and surprise me. They make really cool jazz mixes or rock mixes, blues, or something just fun and energetic and bouncy as that song was. So, you know, it took Koji Kondo's original theme and just went to town. I love the samples in there. It's just so bouncy. It's just so fun. It makes me want to play Mario. It gets the joy of those games in that track, in that 3-minute song. So that was The Ballad of Bowser's Balls by Chimpazilla from ocremix.org from the game Super Mario Brothers. Mario's big rival, Sonic the Hedgehog, is up next. Big rival in the 90s. I don't think Mario has much to worry about the Sonic of today. But in the 90s, in the early 90s, I tell you what, it was hard being a Super Nintendo fan. Even though I knew the Super Nintendo was great, and the best. It was sometimes hard because there would be a lot of kids standing up to me telling me that the Sega was better and that Sonic was cooler. Sonic the Hedgehog. So this is coming from the original Sonic the Hedgehog. It's called Ocean View by DCT and Guitarman. It's a very relaxing piano song, a bit jazzy. I think it just it becomes very much easy listening, not so much loungy, but a little bit of elevator music in there. But the title of the track, Ocean View, is absolutely perfect because this is a song that you could just sit on a villa and look out to the ocean and listen to this track with. I think that acoustic guitar is absolutely great addition to the piano that comes in here. And I think this is just a great, relaxing piece. It's probably a bit more relaxing than I've ever experienced when I played Sonic the Hedgehog. So this is called Ocean View by DCT and Guitarman from ocremix.org from the game Sonic the Hedgehog. That was Ocean View by DCT and Guitarman from ocremix.org from the game Sonic the Hedgehog, the original Sonic the Hedgehog, back in 1991. You know what? I didn't say this at the beginning of the show, but what happened was I was putting the list together for this episode, and it just kind of dawned on me that all the songs were like from the big franchises. And about 8 tracks in, I was like, you know what? I don't care. That's what we're doing. A lot of times I try to think of games that either I haven't played or smaller games that we haven't featured on the show before. Didn't happen with this episode. It was just Mario, Sonic, Zelda. After Mario and Sonic, now we have The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. And, you know, talking about a big game, I mean, Ocarina of Time was the biggest game in the world for me back in 98. It was I was living and dying on getting this game for Christmas and getting a Nintendo 64. My mom showed incredible mercy to me by getting us a Nintendo 64 with Ocarina of Time. I tell you what, that's one of the greatest joys in my life, opening up that present. This is called Generations by Jillian Aversa with DrumUltimA and XPRTNovice and Zircon. Jillian Aversa, amazing vocalist. She has some great albums. I was a huge fan of her album Origins, new agey and atmospheric, and it was just a great listen. She has an amazing voice. I'm a huge fan of her voice on OCR. I've always been a big fan of her vocal work throughout the years. This one is no exception. This is called Generations. Like I said, it's a remix of the Forest Temple from Ocarina of Time, originally by Koji Kondo. That Forest Temple theme in Ocarina, classic. Just, it was so spooky. It was so you just wanted to, I would go to the Forest Temple in Ocarina of Time and just stand there and let that music play. It was just, not only was it as good as it was just so different from everything else in the game. I mean, Ocarina of Time has some of the greatest tracks ever, but the Forest Temple was just so different and so, I mean, it was that spooky kind of feeling, those vocals coming through on the Nintendo 64's kind of limited audio hardware. It's amazing what Koji Kondo did, and I love what Jillian Aversa is doing here as well. So this is Generation by DrumUltimA, Jillian Aversa, XPRTNovice, and Zircon from ocremix.org from the game The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. That was Generations by DrumUltimA, Jillian, Aversa, XPRTNovice, and Zircon from ocremix.org from the game The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Now for something a little bit different, something nasty, something that's nothing but teeth. This rockin' piece is from Doom. This is the first level of the first game. You can actually get this track is from the album Doom, The Dark Side of Phobos. The guitars in this are just nasty. I love it. It's just a rippin' piece. It's called Hangarmageddon, or Hangarmageddon, by Evil Horde, and yeah, this track is evil. It's just aggressive, it's hard-hitting, it's fantastic. The guitar is just so crunchy. From the game Doom, from the album The Dark Side of Phobos, we have Hangarmageddon by Evil Horde from ocremix.org from the game Doom. That was Hangarmageddon by Evil Horde from ocremix.org from the album The Dark Side of Phobos, which was a Doom remix album from the first Doom. What an iconic piece of music that is, and what rockin' piece it can be in its original form or in a remix like that. Pokemon's our next big hitter here, though this is from Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of Time, which I heard the Pokemon Mystery games are coming to the Switch. I don't have a Nintendo Switch yet, but that's pretty cool. I think they're putting it into one big pack. Don't quote me on that, though. I don't know. I have never played the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games, but I'm a huge fan of TGH's work on OCR with those games, and this one's no exception as well, called Temporal Despair by TGH, or the Guitar Hero. It's the piano in here, along with, I mean, you got the synth and the electronic beats and everything, but that piano that's coming in here, that repeating piano, it's just so catchy. And even with that piano, it almost feels like it has a dance beat to it all. I think this is just a really interesting piece of music by itself, and that I've been really enjoying listening to this week. So it's called Temporal Despair by TGH from ocremix.org from the game Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Time. That was Temporal Despair by TGH from Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Time, found at ocremix.org. Now for something a little bit longer. From Super Metroid, Crimson Wolf 777 brings us a remix of Maridia, the rocky underground water area, but also the red soil wetland area of Brinstar. It's called Depths of Maridia. Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo. The soundtrack It's amazing because every piece is absolutely perfect for the level that it's in, for creating an atmosphere that's just dripping with this sense of loneliness and creepiness. But they're also all just great tracks apart from the game that I can just listen to by themselves. It's amazing when you can have something that's just so specific in the game for a specific place, but then it just becomes even bigger than that. Crimson Wolf has taken that ambient sound of Super Metroid. They've made it a bit slower. They've stretched it out. They've made it a little bit creepier by bringing in that real piano and strings. Kind of a chill, relaxing piece in some ways, but you can't get past that eerie, creepy sound that's just there in Super Metroid. So, this is The Depths of Maridia by Crimson Wolf 777 from ocremix.org from the game Super Metroid. That was Depths of Maridia by Crimson Wolf 777 from ocremix.org from the game Super Metroid. One that I'm planning on replaying this year, I think. I replayed The Legend of Zelda Link to the Past on my Super Nintendo Mini last year. I think I need to replay Super Metroid. It's not a super long game if you know what you're doing, and you watch the speed runs that people do online, and it's crazy. It's fantastic. We're gonna kind of keep with that eerie vibe, but a little bit more rockin'. We're back to some of that crunchy guitar. So this is from the album Mega Man X Maverick Rising, which Overclocked Remix did a while ago. And I haven't played the Mega Man X games yet, but the album that's here, the Maverick Rising album, it's very much like heavy rock. There's a lot of like speed rock and there's just a lot of chunky sounds in that whole album. Level 99 and Avaris have done here. They've taken this track from Mega Man X called Zero, and the guitar's repeating, the beat's pretty consistent, but there's just a lot of other sounds in there that makes everything feel a bit distorted, a bit warped around. It's a really interesting sound, and I think it's Level 99's guitar that kind of anchors you in it while everything else kind of plays around with the whole soundscape. It's a track that I wasn't super familiar with until it just kind of came on random, and I was like, what am I listening to? This is really interesting. So, this is called SparkPlugs by Avaris and Level 99 from the album Mega Man X Maverick Rising. That was SparkPlugs by Avaris and Level 99 from the album Mega Man X Maverick Rising, which you can find at ocremix.org. Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Conquest has been featured on this show before. It's going to be featured on the show until the show ends. Until you take the show from my prying dead hands, I'm going to be including Donkey Kong Country 2 sounds because that soundtrack is fantastic. This is called Clouds Away by Bekah Jones, DiGi Valentine, and Palpable. So this is taking that hothead bop and turning into this really amazingly well-crafted hip-hop rap. And you have, I believe it's DiGi Valentine who's doing the verses of the rap. It just, his voice just fits the lyrics and the music that's playing in the background. That beat, it all just blends together so well. It feels like they were just meant together. The mixing is absolutely fantastic. Bekah Jones comes in with the chorus with this kind of bittersweet, hopeful lyrics. I mean, they're a bit sad. It's like she's trying to rescue DiGi Valentine from the verses, from himself. And then Bekah comes in that chorus and is like, I'm here. And it's just such a well-crafted piece and such a great thing to do with the hothead bop. This is Clouds Away by Bekah Jones, DiGi Valentine, and Palpable from ocremix.org from the game Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Conquest.
alone. But why? For I chose it this way, though I'm to blame for my own mistakes. So you're not allowed to talk to me because I say so. You couldn't reach me if you walked with a halo. Hopeless case, an abandoned project, told them to stop it when they dug further than I wanted. My secrets, no, these belong to me, and for that I know I will never walk free. The cat that was killed by curiosity is the same cat I followed into this odyssey. What an oddity, oh the irony. Can't no longer see the path behind me. The way in is always the easiest. Trying to get back out, well you're better off leaving us. Forget friends and keep enemies close. I know this, and I'm my own worst enemy, nobody's closest. I'm so sick of this. Every 5 minutes my mind is chipping to bits. So I make wishes to help me find a right door. And if I had that wish, I'd end up wishing for a million more. A modern day conundrum. How do you help someone find their way when they do not know where they have come from? Shameful to have that road tackled, only to lose all acknowledgement of the road traveled. Foolish. It was so easy to think I'm thinking clearly when I wasn't really. Allow myself to fall no matter what they tell me. I couldn't help myself, so how the hell can you help me? Don't get the wrong impressions. You're unraveling a mystery that will only lead to more questions. You deep down, I want you to ask, so we can see what becomes of your own path.
Why can't you let me inside? You're holding on to your wounded pride. I see the light in your eyes behind a disguise. I know that you'll find your way
After every dark night, there's a bright day. But how exactly do I find the right way? Some might say it's easier said than done, but when all is said and done, will you be the one to free your mind as raged as mine, a heart as caged as mine? That's a lot of work. So what's it worth? You can tell me. Sidestep the unavoidable, dodge the inescapable. If you are the only one to help, tell me, are you really capable? Tell me.
We'll chase the clouds away.
Escape the inevitable, outrun the impending imminent end. Is that gonna be you, my friend? Tell me.
We'll chase the clouds away. Yeah.
That was Clouds Away by Bekah Jones, DiGi Valentine, and Palpable from Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy Kong's Quest, found at ocremix.org. Just taking that David Wise track and making something amazing out of it. It's already a fantastic track, and just doing what they did, I'm floored. A bit ago, we played something from Street Fighter 2, The World Warrior. It was Vega's theme, and I had talked about how I would often get to Vega, but I would have a hard time beating him. I would occasionally beat Vega. Sagat in Street Fighter 2, forget it. That man just tore me to shreds, just wiped the digital floor with whoever I was playing. It didn't matter. I think I maybe beat Sagat once or twice as a kid. He was vicious. I love his track, and Mazedude has taken Sagat's theme, the Thailand theme, made it into something that feels very much in line with like 90s, with 1992. It's not as dark as some of Mazedude's tracks get. I think he's kind of kept that kind of chill synth vibe that Sagat's theme always had. He's just added in some really weird sounds, really weird effects and pitches, and I think it all just kind of works. So Yoko Shinomura's soundtrack for Street Fighter 2, again, I'm going to say it every time, an absolute classic, one of the greatest. This is called Sagat's Moonbike by Mazedude, from ocremix.org, from the game Street Fighter 2 The World Warrior. That was Sagat's Moonbike by Mazedude from ocremix.org from the game Street Fighter II The World Warrior. Even today, Sagat gives me trouble. He's just so vicious in Street Fighter II. I mean, for maybe some, Sagat's, a pushover, but I think maybe he intimidates me. He's just so big. He's got the eye patch. Our required Final Fantasy track of the show is called In the Beginning by YoshiBlade. So this is mixing the prelude theme from the Final Fantasy games, but it's specifically for Final Fantasy VII. I mean, you can hear the little differences for each prelude in each Final Fantasy game, but the core ostinato repeating riff, that hook, is there for this whole song. But like the Mario track that we opened up with, this is just such a bouncy synth piece that really, around the 4-minute mark, it just becomes so happy and so joyful, and it feels like a celebration, not just of like Final Fantasy VII and the prelude theme, but the whole series has so much energy to give at the end. It kind of has this kind of EDM beat, but the end, like I said, that 4-minute mark, it becomes so bubbly and fun. It's hard to listen to this track, I think, and not have a smile on your face when that shows up. So Nobu Uematsu's Final Fantasy soundtrack, we have In the Beginning by YoshiBlade from ocremix.org from the game Final Fantasy VII. That was In the Beginning by YoshiBlade from ocremix.org from the game Final Fantasy VII. And that was the last track of the show. So thank you for listening to Radio 64 Video Game Music Remix Radio. Again, I have been your host, Eric Mickles, also known online as duskvstweak. You can find me on Twitch. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter at duskvstweak. It's also where you can request certain games to be featured or specific remixes if you have them. And please do, I would love to play them. Radio 64 is part of the Radio Meanwhile network. You can visit radiomeanwhile.com for more information about this and other great podcasts. You can find past episodes of Radio 64 on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube. And thank you to WRAQ 92.7 FM in Angelica, New York for hosting us every Monday at 6 p.m. Please rate, subscribe, and share to this show. And as always, thank you for listening and see you next time.